Football fans, you can't spell gate without Gates, and great tailgates start with Gates sauces and seasonings. Named synonymous with mouth-watering tailgates. When you make your list of tailgate essentials, add Gates sauces and seasonings to that list. Spice up your tailgate experience with that unmistakable great taste. Available in 4 tantalizing flavors. Classic, sweet and mild, mild and hot. Find it at your local grocer, and if you don't see it, ask for it. Visit GatesBarbecue.com to purchase any of the great sauces and seasonings. Great tailgates start with Gates.
And welcome, everyone, to the pregame cheat sheet. I'm Darren Smith, along with Steve Walton. We are live from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada, where the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Las Vegas Raiders with a 1:30 kickoff time here locally, 3:30 back in Kansas City. Steve, of course, I would say welcome to Las Vegas, but it's not like this is our first time here.
Viva Las Vegas.
So your initial thoughts on today's game, of course. Last week, the NFL decided to flex this game along with the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars game from Sunday to Saturday. This is the second year in a row that they've involved Kansas City in moving their game from Sunday to Saturday. Your initial thoughts on this game and everything that will entail with it today?
Well, it's a lot of emotions, right? Like these guys are coming off of watching one of their they call them, the NFL is a brotherhood.
Yep.
This team has come off of watching one of their brothers go down and almost lose his life on the football field. So they're going to have a lot of emotions. And earlier on this weekend, we talked about it. We thought that they may push this maybe a week back along with all the other NFL games and just have it, the rest of the games go up into the Pro Bowl. However, they decided to play. And I think, they're wearing the shirts. They're represents DeMar Hamlin. And so I think with those emotions, there's going to come a lot of mistakes early on. But I think, it's still a rivalry game, like Andy Reid said earlier this week. So I think they'll come out ready to play.
As you mentioned, of course, this Chiefs-Raiders, this is the 125th meeting, I believe, between these two teams. The Chiefs are 69-53 with 2 ties against the Las Vegas Raiders. They've won the last 4 games. Last time these two teams were here, the Chiefs won that game 41-14 last year. Last time these two teams met early in the season, of course, was a Monday night game. Chiefs held the Raiders off 30-29. If the Chiefs can win this game, there are a lot of things that will unpack within this time period. If the Chiefs win today, they will clinch the number 1 seed. They will have swept the AFC West 6-0 over their division opponents, and they will get a first-round bye. And if he can play a clean game today, or essentially, 3 touchdowns, maybe, kind of a game that he had last week against the Denver Broncos, Patrick Mahomes will sew up his second MVP in his 6-year career here in Kansas City.
I think it's his to lose, right? I think he understands what it's going to take to win it. Again, he wasn't the front runner all season.
He was a front runner most of the season. They were always trying to put Josh Allen, somebody else against him, and then he had a 2-game lull where Jalen Hurts, because of the record of the team, jumped across of him. But then when Jalen got hurt, Vegas swapped him out.
The front runner, of course, amongst media was Josh Allen, right? And amongst fans, it may have been Patrick Mahomes. However, I think his play on the field speaks for itself, and I believe everyone knows that.
Yeah. So, looking at this game, of course, one of the things you mentioned, of course, was DeMar Hamlin. He is the safety for the Buffalo Bills that was injured in the Monday night game between the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, news coming out of New York this week was that they were not going to play the game any longer. That game has been canceled, so it's essentially as though it never happened. Coming out of that game, though, because of what would have happened in that game with the Chiefs winning on Sunday, had Buffalo won that game, they would have overtaken Kansas City once again with identical records due to a head-to-head matchup that when they beat Kansas City, they would have been in the number 1 seed driving position. And, of course, with this weekend's games coming up. Because that game did not get completed, Cincinnati, even though they were leading, had they won, Kansas City would have been number 1 going into this weekend's game. So, coming out of all that, the NFL commissioner has stated that if both Kansas City and Buffalo win this weekend, and the two teams somehow face the AFC Championship game, that game will not be played at Arrowhead Stadium, but will be played at a neutral site that is yet to be determined. We know it's not going to be Detroit. We also know that it's not going to be Indianapolis. Now, If Kansas City wins and Buffalo loses, that's it. The AFC Championship game will be played, whether it's Buffalo or Cincinnati, will be played in Kansas City. If by chance Buffalo and Kansas City somehow lose this weekend and Cincinnati wins, then if any of those three teams play each other in the AFC Championship game, that would also be played at a neutral site. So basically, if you're Kansas City, you just need to worry about winning and winning your game today.
That's a lot to digest, man. And you know what? I think Chiefs fans are kind of up and down about this. But not only that, but you have the rest of the league that is watching this AFC just to see what all unfolds with that. Just because, and the reason I say that is because we see, Cincinnati, who got the short end of the stick on this, are really upset because they felt like, it wasn't their fault, whereas it was more of a Buffalo situation.
Yeah, and then also, we were just looking right on the air that also a situation, where Buffalo is upset about the coin toss and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, they could essentially sweep Baltimore. No, I'm saying no. They can win today and still have a situation where they have to play in Baltimore, even though they would have won the division.
Yeah, and this is what makes this game so much more important, right? Like last week, had just for instance, if there was a scenario where Buffalo lost, right? The Chiefs, had they lost this week, it would have still kind of, it wouldn't have, or had they lost last week, I'm sorry, had they lost last week, it would have still been like, okay, well, maybe we can still hope for Buffalo to lose against the Patriots this week, right? Yeah. So it's still, but this week is end all be all. Yeah. So that means you've got to win, otherwise you're going to be going into the AFC miss the match and figuring out where you're going to play.
Talking to members of the Chiefs PR along with some of the players, they obviously know what's in front of them. They want to win, get the week off, let everybody else, battle each other out next week, sit back and watch how things unfold. Because look, if you're Kansas City, I posted something on Twitter yesterday where I told people, look, don't worry about about the whole, do not worry about the whole thing about the neutral site. Win the games that you need to win. Worry about that first and foremost, and then of course, let the chips fall where they may. Because Arrowhead has not been a safe haven this week because they're 2-2 in the AFC Championship game. Yeah. In Kansas City, especially after losing last year's game against the Cincinnati Bengals.
I agree. It's Arrowhead doesn't have its luster that it used to have. And this is from us on the outside looking in, from the media perspective. But it still gets loud, and I feel like it lost its luster when a rookie by the name of Joe Burrow last year and said college football stadiums are much louder than Arrowhead.
Well, that was the second year.
It was second year. Yeah.
And so and then he came in and proved his point.
He did.
Till you beat them, that's just the way it is. Exactly. But looking at this matchup today, Chiefs coming to the game 13-3. They win the game, they're 14-3. They'll have, everything ahead of them with the first round bye. The Raiders, of course, they come into today's game 6-10. Yeah. Now we were wondering coming in, Darren Waller. He will be playing. He's played the last 3 games. Yeah. But I didn't. I guess it's been kind of quiet. You kind of didn't know that.
That's why I saw the jersey in the airport. I'm like, Darren Waller, who?
Your initial thoughts on this matchup again? Last time these two teams played, they played at Arrowhead. It was 30-29. Devontae Adams only had 3 catches, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce had 4 touchdowns, only like 25 yards receiving. What are you looking for in this matchup? What do you hope the Chiefs clean up the last time these two teams played? What do you hope that you see from the defensive side of the ball?
Look, and I don't want to give up my key, but well, I guess I'll give it to you. My key to the Chiefs and their defense today is stopping the engine, right? And that's stopping Devontae Adams. This Raiders team goes as far as Devontae Adams can take them. Now, granted, I know there's no Derek Carr, but I feel like this team still revolves around Devontae Adams. And so
and Josh Jacobs, because Josh Jacobs ran for 150 yards in that game against the Chiefs.
And I agree. However, we talked to Justin Reed and other guys, Chris Jones, that said that, these guys the young guys are no longer rookies.
That is true.
And even a couple of the rookies that said, we understand that we've got our taste of some of the top teams, some of the top talents in the league, and we're no longer rookies now. We're going. This is like a playoff game because really, if you look back in the number of years in a 16 game season, the season would have been over, and this would be the first week of playoff.
The good thing for Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes is that the return of McCole Hardman, he might be on a little bit of snack count.
He's on the inactive list today again.
Oh, they put him on. Okay,
yes.
so they put him on the inactive. So, but the good thing is, we know he'll be ready for the playoffs. If they win today, you got a couple weeks to get himself together.
Right.
Sky Moore along with Coach. Okay, so bypassing that, also it looks like Harrison Butker is also on the inactive list, and so. With that being the case, the Chiefs, I think they're gonna have another kicker. Yeah. So it looks like they're gonna have another kicker filling in for Harrison Butker. I think he had backslaps according to Andy Reid.
Who could win himself a job?
Yeah,
if he goes out there and does what he needs to do. I mean,
if I remember correctly, he kicked for a team earlier this year. I think he was perfect too. I think he was like 12 for 12 on the extra points and like 4 out of 4 or something when it came to field goals or whatever.
Okay.
So, I told people months ago the conversation could be had, and it looks like that, that's going to be the situation where the conversation might be had in the offseason about what to do with Harrison Butker. But also, okay, look, man, we got a lot going on. Now, Chiefs Kingdom is here. They are showing out. You will see a sea of black and red in this stadium. It's a beautiful stadium. Of course, you see the field and behind us. You see the screen behind us. We're live inside of Allegiant Stadium, where the Chiefs take on the Las Vegas Raiders in about an hour or so. So, lots to unpack still. So, looking at this matchup, look, Andy Reid is actually 17-5 against them now. You mentioned Derek Carr. One of the reasons the main reason why Derek Carr is not the quarterback is one, he's left the team, but also they decided to bench him. They don't want him to get hurt. He has a $40 million guarantee if he were to get injured going into the next season. So looks like they're going to.
As soon as I step out on the field, my ankle, my hamstring.
It makes you wonder. The last game that he played in, I'd have had a hangnail or something.
Yeah.
It'd cost him $40 million, but. Be that as it may, you mentioned earlier, Devontae Adams. He has said he wants to stay here, but he does want to have a say on the quarterback situation.
Yes.
Because that was the main reason why he came and signed with the Raiders, because of his relationship and his former teammate of Derek Carr.
And we talk about that brotherhood. I mean, he's gonna ride for his brother. You take away somebody like that who he's developed the chemistry with. That's a deal breaker right there, because you got to remember he's also playing with guys who he's not familiar with.
Right.
And so we talked about Patrick Mahomes earlier in this season when they brought in Juju and MVS and all those other guys. Yeah, and it took him a while to be able to develop that chemistry. However, Patrick Mahomes is a one-of-a-kind quarterback, right? So just think if you're getting any mediocre quarterback, Devontae Adams is not going to be happy going from Aaron Rodgers to now his brother to someone now totally different who doesn't add up to what he's used to.
Let's look at the running back field of Kansas City. Isaiah Pacheco, Jake McKinnon. Again, we had a little conversation last week, and I can't remember if we did on the pregame show, which it might have been, or the Red Eye, but we talked about the situation with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I can't remember what Andy said as it relates to the timeliness of when he might be back.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't have to missing him. Ronald Jones has filled in, has gotten a few snaps in there. Yeah. But it's basically been the rookie and the vet between Isaiah Pacheco and McKinnon. Yeah. What are you seeing from them? I mean, look, especially in the passing game, McKinnon has been that special receiver for, especially when it comes to getting the touchdown for Patrick Mahomes.
In the last 5 games. So I got with that, I don't think that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be back this season. I mean, there's no reason for him unless someone gets hurt and there's a huge need. But I mean, you got 2 backs that now, like about the defensive rookies, he's no longer a rookie. He's had his fair share of starts, and so he's had his success
and he's had his failure. Himself like a rookie either.
Yeah, it's ever since
what we see in the locker room.
Yeah, I mean, you, and that's one of the things I talked to him after a couple of games. just about his confidence and where it comes from and why he's so confident. And he's one of those guys, 6th-round pick. He's playing right now. He's playing with house money, so to speak. He'll tell you he's not supposed to be here. Yeah. He's not supposed to be having the success that he's had. However, he's in this position because he's worked hard enough and he's put himself right where he needs to be. And he understands that it can be taken away, and he's not taking it for granted.
But I tell you, the good thing that you see about these players, especially the rookies, and we've already talked about it, the way that the Chiefs are able to mix these rookies in with the veterans, man. You know, so now, as you see, when it gets down to a time like this and getting to the playoffs, they're ready to rock and roll. I mean, there's no, you know, the lights are too bright for them or anything like that. So now.
That's because the opportunity that they've been getting from Andy.
Yeah, and obviously because of that, you also have expectations. So the expectation is, one, don't be muffing, kicks or whatever, and so getting all that stuff getting all the kinks like that worked out. Also, of course, we did see the return of Kadarius Toney last week as well. What did you see from him coming back off of injury?
It was interesting, but I'll get to that in a second. He brings you that spark that you need. It's not too much of a spark, but it's just enough. And he did fumble the football on the kickoff return. We saw them throw Isaiah Pacheco back in there. But then right after, when the Chiefs got the ball back, you saw the ball go directly to who? Kadarius Toney, and I believe it was for about 30 yards.
Yeah.
And you could definitely see his emotion pacing up and down the Chiefs sideline. So I asked Kadarius Toney about that after the game, and I said, well, you had an early fumble. What's it mean for you that Andy Reid said, hey, I'm coming right back to you? He's like, man, that means the world to me. That Andy thinks enough about his players to help us gain our confidence back that quickly, and he doesn't let it fester during the game.
Pregame cheat sheet live from Allegiant Stadium, brought to you, sponsored in part by Gates Barbecue. Look, Steve Walls, Darren Smith. Follow us on social media at Steve Walls KC, at Darren Smith WHB. Make sure you join us on Monday evening at 6:30 to 7:30 for the Red Hour, live from Soiree Steak and Oyster House. Myself, Steve Walls, DJ Q, Sean Tyler. We'll recap this game. We'll get you set up for the college football championship game, along with, of course, the wild card matchup that'll be taking place next week. Hopefully, if Kansas City takes care of business today, they can sit back and watch the show, watch everything unfold. Steve, look, also, one of the things that I've enjoyed seeing, and look, one of the concerns that you and I had last week, and kind of talked about it with Patrick some, and look, it is a real thing, is the production of Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I mean, he's a starting wide receiver on a 14-3 team. His numbers, the stats, what you see. Now, look, Patrick has said before the season starts, hey, outside of Kelsey, numbers are going to be, they're going to be what they are. However, because he's on a 3-year deal, there is conversation to where maybe the wrong person got, the wrong 3-year deal. Yeah. And there were people who have told me, and I'm not going to reveal it, but there are people who told me that, even when they first signed him, they still felt that they signed the wrong person to the deal. That being said, what do you think Patrick can do in this game? Because look, he's given them opportunity, and Patrick, to his credit, has admitted that. Look, he's been missing them. He's been overthrowing them and stuff like that, and doing things that what can he do to help? I don't know. I mean, get this, put those two, Patrick and Scanlon, on the same page together.
I feel like, we talked to Daniel Hughes about this. It takes a little while for some receivers to get acclimated with their quarterback. I'm not saying that's the case with MVS, but what I will say is that when you think about just the catches that he's had, the drops that he's had, I mean, the drop started early on in the season. You remember the end zone drop early, the first game of the season? It's not something that just started. I mean, you see that Patrick is looking for him on the offensive side of the ball. Yeah, however, he's also looking for 3 other receivers out there, plus a tight end that he's going to go with. So, I mean, he's got to let Patrick know that he's his number one target. But Juju would have a say in that, right? Because I think when you talked
Well,
about it, the deal that MVS has maybe should have gone to Juju.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's an issue of who's number one in the match. But again, I think it's more so. I've always wondered how much time are they actually spending either before practice starts, after practice. Look, we had discussion this morning when we were coming down to do the show how Patrick was already here, and then you had other players coming in maybe an hour or so later.
Yeah.
You would think that as many drops, missed connections that they've had throughout the season, that'd be something they'd be working on week in and week out, day in and day out. Because, look, especially if my contract and my career, my livelihood relies on it. I mean,
but to their credit, I mean, they're professionals.
No,
they've been playing this game. They don't have to go out there and work.
No, I get it. But here's the thing. I mean, we're about to start the playoffs, next week and the week after for the Chiefs if they win today.
And again, too, you got to remember, MVS wasn't the main target in Green Bay.
I get that.
I mean, so when you look at his numbers in Green Bay compared to his numbers here, Aaron Rodgers didn't really spread the ball around like that. It went to mainly Devontae Adams. He got the main targets. And so now it's like the ball is getting spread around even more. And so he just got to get in where he fits in.
But here's the thing, man. You're 6'4".
I get it.
You supposedly run a 4.3.
Yeah.
One of the things that we have not seen that game, that breakaway speed. We have not seen him even break away from coverage. Mm-hmm. And so, and even times when Patrick puts the ball on the money, he's turning the Featherstone.
Yeah. I mean, look, if this was year 2, year 3, I'd be concerned. But it's year 1.
But
Patrick still. If they had no one else, it'd make a major concern for me. However, the ball's been spread around a lot.
That part is true, but a couple of things. Expectations are high here based off of what they've done.
I agree.
And we also don't do excuses anymore either. So I agree. Yeah. So, but be that as it may, let's take a quick time. When we come out, we'll look at the defensive side of the ball, see what Kansas City needs to do to slow down this Las Vegas offense. Keep it locked in. This is the pregame cheat sheet. Darren Smith, Steve Walls, live from Allegiant Stadium side of Las Vegas, Nevada, where the Chiefs take on the Las Vegas Raiders at 1:30 local time, 3:30 Kansas City time. We'll be right back after this time.
Can't spell gate without Gates, and great tailgates start with Gates sauces and seasonings. Named synonymous with mouth-watering tailgates. When you make your list of tailgate essentials, add Gates sauces and seasonings to that list. Spice up your tailgate experience with that unmistakable great taste. Available in 4 tantalizing flavors. Classic, sweet and mild, mild and hot. Find it at your local grocer, and if you don't see it, ask for it. Visit GatesBarbecue.com to purchase any of the great sauces and seasonings. Great tailgates start with Gates.
All right, we're back on the pregame cheat sheet. Darren Smith along with Steve Walls, live inside Allegiant Stadium. Chiefs, the Las Vegas Raiders, 1:30 kickoff. Here locally, 3:30 back in Kansas City. You can watch the game on ABC, ESPN, ESPN Plus, The Ocho, whatever else. If you got a streaming app, you can watch it on the app, watch it on your phone, watch it on your tablet. Steve, defensively, Kansas City, they've had some struggles lately, against lower, I don't say lower quality teams, but this team that you expect them to beat. Now, fans are going to expect them to beat this team. They won the last 4 matchups, as I mentioned before.
Well, I will cut you off there.
Please do.
Because you say fans expect them to win. They've expected them to be dominant in a lot of the games this season, and they haven't been.
Well, that's what.
So does that make this game any different? I mean, seeing how well this Raiders team played against a top 10 defense in the San Francisco 49ers last week.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's interesting. We're here. The gambling capital of the world. This is my home away from home, so to speak.
So if you were a betting man.
Yeah, so. But it's interesting because the Chiefs, I think when we had the show Monday, I think they might have been 9.5, 10-point favorites. I think it's gotten down to 8.5. So, I mean, people know something. So, but being a division matchup, what's at stake? Kansas City's going to play their players through the entire game.
Yep.
I still think that, I took the Raiders today with the points.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I mean, because I don't see Kansas City hasn't blown teams out. recently,
I agree.
and the way and the way that the Raiders have played, just as you mentioned, against the 49ers last week. And 49ers, look, they're the second best team in the one of the top 3 teams in the NFC. With Brock Purdy as a rookie quarterback, putting up points that they're able to do, with the defense that they got, with Nick Bosa, stuff like that. So I think that they'll keep the game close, and because of that, we have to, got to respect what they got going on.
Yeah.
And so defensively, what are you hoping to see for Spats? Because if I remember correctly, when they played in Kansas City, was it L'Jarius Sneed that was man up on Devontae Adams, or was it someone else?
It was L'Jarius Sneed. It was also Joshua Williams.
Because
I think Joshua Williams is the one where when I asked Spags about that, he said that, just asking about Joshua Williams gaining the confidence. And he said, he was right there stride for stride. He just, made the wrong step. And when you make the wrong step against a good receiver, he's going to beat you every time. A great receiver is going to beat you every time.
And that's because it's interesting because they put up 29 points and he only had 3 catches. But 2 of those catches went for touchdowns.
Yeah. But look, they're gonna take their shots, and he's gonna get some catches.
Well, no. But where I was going with that was that I thought he did a good job for the most part of limiting his catches. It's just that the catches that he got, 2 of the 3 went for touchdowns. That's something that that's kind of hard to kind of guard against because when you look at because he normally gets between 8 to 11 catches in a game,
150, 200 yards.
Yeah, and so. You limited 3 catches, but those were big catches that took place in that game. So
let me ask you real quick. Let me ask you this: if you're Spags, who do you put L'Jarius Sneed on him? Do you put Trent McDuffie, who he hasn't seen, or do you put Joshua Williams, who's seen him before?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna try Trent out on him.
Okay.
First of all, they're both rookies, Trent and Joshua. But again, like you said, he didn't go up against Trent. I want to see what Trent can do. He's our number 1 draft pick for a reason. Let's see, put the chips out at the middle of the table. Let's see what he can do.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how long you said it. Now, I'm not saying. Now, I'm still gonna give Devontae that Tyreek treatment. I'm gonna still keep a safety, up top in case he beats him out. The biggest thing you have to worry about with is beating, is his route running because he's excellent.
Yeah.
When it comes to that. So if I'm Spags, I'm making sure that I got some help. Now, Darren Waller, as we mentioned before, he is back in this game. People were saying he's probably the 3rd best tight end behind Kelsey and Kittle. Obviously, he has the injury bug that's been plaguing him lately. So, what type of? Well, I would ask, how do you feel he's going to play? But here's the thing: one thing to keep in mind, and I literally almost forgot to now. Jarrett Stidham was with Josh McDaniels in New England. So it's hard to be surprised at what he did because that's what he's seen week in and week out.
Of course.
When he was in New England. So he put up, 367 yards last week. I think 3 touchdowns, stuff like that. You hear the Chiefs coming out. Hold on, we'll be quiet for a second. Chiefs coming out to the field right now here in Las Vegas. But we see, look, we see what happened with that. How do you, how do you think that, that will play a role, Darren Waller, in today's game?
Look, Darren Waller is a tough matchup. We talk about Kelsey all the time and how tough of a matchup he is. Darren Waller is really a wide receiver. Big body, tall, and fast, and very physical. So he's a tough matchup. Linebackers, he's too fast for linebackers. He's too big for linebackers, and for if you try to throw a defensive end at him, he'll beat him off the line of scrimmage. So I think Darren Waller hasn't really lived up to his
contract,
contract, all of that, and I think now and a lot of it due to injuries, right? Yeah. So I think you talk about him being the 3rd best tight end. This is a day where you gotta going into the end of the season. Like we talked about the team last week, where the Denver Broncos going into the end of the season wanted to kind of show some things, put some things on tape to where they can parlay into next season. This is the same thing that this Raiders team, since they're officially eliminated from the playoffs, which was interesting to me real quick. Was that as many ups and downs as they had, that they were still in contention.
Yeah, and I think they got eliminated last week.
Yeah, last week, yeah.
One of the players that I'd say, again, I'm not saying he's going to be the one to do anything, but if the Raiders are somewhat upset Kansas City, the name to watch out for is going to be Matt Collins. He's the other wide receiver on the opposite side of Devontae. He deserves the attention that the Chiefs defense is going to get. But because of that would allow Hollins the opportunity to step up and to make some big plays.
And real quick, RG, man, prayers to you and your family, man. Our prayers, our hearts go out to you and your family regarding your grandmother, man. Prayers to you and your family. Thanks for watching, too. But you were talking about the defense, the Chiefs' defense.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying Matt Collins with his opportunity today to step up, because you know that the Chiefs are going to be focusing on Devontae Adams. So yeah. I'm saying on the opposite side, what role do you think he can play in today's game?
His role. I mean, we always see the other guy get off. I mean, we see it when they went against the Buffalo Bills. Stephon Diggs, who got off? Gabe Davis.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, we see it all the time. But it's just you got to limit you. But again, I'm the type that will say, all right, let somebody else beat us. If they're going to beat us, we're going to lose the game.
Yeah. Now look, the biggest fear factor for me is not even Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
It's Josh Jacobs, the running back. The last time against Kansas City, he ran for over 150 yards.
Okay.
They could not stop him. Now, as a former running back himself, Eric Bieniemy, he got something that
exactly.
in his heart when he sees stuff like that. Now, I did ask Bieniemy this week, as the offensive play caller for the Chiefs, does he feel like he needs to run? They need to run the football more. Now, people get upset talking about, well, why would you run the football? You got Patrick. Again, the run game is to assist Patrick, so you don't have mistakes, i.e., 3 interceptions against the Denver Broncos, where a blowout turns into a ball game.
Yeah.
And look, also, if you can have it somewhat, the name of the game is to win the football. You're not trying to win the football just by pleasing Patrick Mahomes and having him throw for 800 yards.
I agree.
Because he threw for 700 yards against Baker Mayfield, and lost that game in college. So so my thing is, you have to have a balance attack, because the one thing that Kansas City doesn't seem to do, which used to be a crutch of Andy Reid, is allowing the play clock to be your friend.
Yeah. I
mean, there's nothing wrong with, okay, we're going to run the football, but we're going to take all 25 seconds of the play clock to make sure, you know what I'm saying? So you want it to work your favor. Then also, if you have concerns about your defense, give them time to rest.
Yeah.
Because if you got to lead, the first thing you do, you throw it on first down, throw it on second down, throw it on third down. Well, hell, the defense got to come right back out there. Then if they give up a big play, everybody's upset about the defense giving up big plays.
Yeah.
But what about the offense putting them in a position where they don't have to do that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but you got to think about it. Well, and I'm going to ask you, too, how important is it for Nick Bolton and Willie Gay? You talk about how good their running game is with Josh Jacobs. How important is it for them to be run stoppers today?
Oh, I mean, it's going to be pivotal, because if I'm the Raiders, I'm running the ball down their throat because I want to keep Patrick on the sideline. Okay. See, and that's the other thing. Why do you think other teams run the football against the Chiefs? To keep Patrick's ass on the sideline.
Yeah, but once he gets the ball, I mean, if you could score, does it matter how you score?
No.
That's always been my question. Folks want to run.
It doesn't matter, but here's the flip side again. You still got to worry about your defense, because, look, the Chiefs have shown that they can score in 12, 13 seconds. But they've also shown that if you get behind further enough and the clock becomes the issue, then it becomes a thing where you start pressing, and that's where mistakes can be made. So I mean, it's a double-edged sword. But again, everything comes down to clock and game management, and it's not anything about analytics or anything. I mean, you got to have a feel for the game. I'm not saying don't get Patrick's going to get his stats regardless. We know this. But you cannot have a game where either Patrick is the leading rusher. We've seen that a couple of games. And you also can't have a game where
It's been a while.
Yeah, but you also can't have a game where you only got 46 yards rushing, and because Patrick is throwing for 300 plus yards, because you're not even trying to establish the run game. And then the other team, when you look at the the time of possession, and then you see how close the game is. It's like you put yourself in situations where you don't have to. That's what I'm saying.
I agree, but sometimes that's a good problem to have. Sometimes I think if you're
but
very,
it can also run out against you because look at the times that that the team has played against Cincinnati. They've had they've had big leads. Now I think the last game Cincinnati was kind of back and forth, but the Chiefs ended up getting the lead, and then they had Travis missed a pass and interception, and next they lost the lead, and that was it.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we got to get a feel of how things are moving in the game, and I'm saying you don't always have, because don't forget in 2020 when the Chiefs went back and ran it back. When they beat Buffalo in Buffalo, how they do it? They ran the football.
Yeah, I agree. But then you got to remember when we really were like into you got to run the ball. This was 2020, 2021.
You remember Kansas City's best game last year in Philadelphia? They I think they did almost 500 yards of offense, but they rushed for 150-some yards, and Patrick was still able to throw for 300-some odd yards.
Best game last year was against Buffalo Bills, 13 seconds.
No. You talking about? I'm talking about the regular season.
Oh, okay. Well, and not only that, but we're thinking, when that's another guy we got to watch out for is Max Crosby.
And Kansas City had the lead in that Buffalo game.
Yeah.
So and you saw it back and forth the win. Now I'm not saying not taking nothing away from the other team.
Yeah.
But again, you have a lead. You got to be able to figure out a way to sit on this, from time to time.
And teams aren't playing them the same way with the cover too high sometimes. But they're not playing them the same way that they were with Tyreek Hill.
Well,
so it gives you that ability to be able to throw the ball more.
Flip side is this time around, where Mahomes has been able to spread the ball around to where you don't know where he's going to go. Now, the only bad thing we've seen last week is that Kadarius Toney coming back from injury, and what I have McCarthy, you haven't been able to really stretch the field like you want to. Now, once they're back healthy, I think at the start of the playoffs for them. I think when that happens, I think we'll see how great Kansas City's offense can be, because now they can really stretch them, because what's going to happen is they're going to put them all on the field, where you can stretch the field, hit them underneath with MVS and Juju, or if push comes to shove, you got Travis. So you got all three lines of when it comes to how you want to move that football, and of course you still got the run game as well.
I agree. Well, I mean, it's gonna be this game to me is gonna be one of those weird games, man. I think because you got the Raiders coming in here, or you got the Chiefs coming into Raider country, right? And well, if this was Oakland, it'd be Raider country. So I mean, this is anybody's country, but you're coming into Las Vegas into enemy territory and trying to get a win against a Raiders team that's coming off of a game that helped them get a lot of confidence.
Look, Raiders have
a quarterback that's got confidence now.
Raiders have nothing to lose. I mean,
exactly.
They get so they got everything to play for, which is playing the role of spoiler, so to speak. If Kansas City loses and they fall, I think the worst was if they lose and everybody else wins, they fall to number 3. Mm-hmm. But that's another reason why you want to win this game. So because Cincinnati has the head. Well. They might fall to number 2 because of the percentage.
Granted, the Bills play the Patriots, which the Patriots are trying to get into the playoffs.
Patriots do have to win.
Yeah, the Patriots have to win. And then you also have Cincinnati, who's going to play Baltimore, right? Yeah. And Baltimore is trying to keep their playoff contention alive.
Well, they're in the playoffs.
They're in, but I'm just saying seeding-wise.
Yeah.
So.
Defensively, we've seen Kansas City, especially, that front 4, front 7. They've been getting after the quarterback. We saw Karlaftis last week get a sack. I think get a strip sack as well. What are you seeing from the defensive front 7 that's going to help them in this game today against the Raiders?
Man, that's my X factor. That's my X factor. When I look at guys, when I look at guys like Max Crosby, when I look at guys like Andrew Billings, Cleveland Farrell, I mean, you gotta make sure that you keep Patrick clean. You do. Like the Raiders have nothing to lose. We talk nothing to lose in this game.
Hey, hold on. For all the hatred that Orlando Brown gets, I read this week with Pro Football Focus, I think over the last X amount of games, he's been the top left tackle in football.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the reason why he's in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah. As you hear, man, we're less than, we're just a little over half hour away from kickoff. Kansas City Chiefs travel to Las Vegas, taking on the Las Vegas Raiders here. We're inside Allegiant Stadium. We'll be, hopefully, all things considered, we'll be off next week. The Chiefs will be hopefully having a bye. Couple of things, house cleaning stuff. We've got, following the Chiefs game, Steve and I will bring you the post game. We'll bring you our post game show after, of course, we show the press. We give you the presser with Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, select players, and as we go into the locker room to speak with the players. And then following that, we'll come back post game, bring you our post game show, and then of course the Red Hour on Monday. There's the second game, the second half of the doubleheader in today's game, or today in the NFL. You got the Tennessee Titans at the Jacksonville Jaguars. That is for the AFC South title. Didn't matter what happened last week. Today's game was going to determine the champion. Who wins this game between the Jags and the Tennessee Titans?
I think the Jaguars will win. I really do. I think we got some Star Wars here. That's funny. I think the Jaguars are going to win. I really do. It's just, it's time. Trevor Lawrence, the way he's playing, the way the running back,
Travis
Etienne. Yeah, I had him on my fantasy team, so I know how well he's been doing. So I think Jaguars are going to pull that one out. Derrick Henry's not the same. He doesn't put the same fear in.
Well, but here's the thing. He is well rested. Got a couple weeks off, and he says he's ready for it. So I will say this. I think I got Jacksonville winning. I got to check my best list, but I think I got Jacksonville winning.
Okay.
But I will say this. We have to give, because we didn't really talk about it much when the Chiefs played the Jaguars, but Doug Peterson should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year. I know a lot of people talk about Brian Daboll, but look at where this team was last year.
So should Andy Reid.
Well, Andy Reid should always be in the conversation, but kind of like Patrick Mahomes, there's a lot held against him. Yeah. But if we see where, and I get why Brian Daboll as well. But if you look at the Jags had the number one pick the last 2 years. Yeah, you had Urban Meyer, and then turn around, you fire Urban Meyer after all the craziness, you bring him in. Nobody expected him, to lead this team to on the verge of getting their first AFC playoff berth and who knows when. Yeah. And on top of that, the AFC South crown. So that's that would be a feather in Trevor Lawrence's cap along with Doug Peterson. So, X factor offensively for Kansas City for you today to win this game.
For the offense, I'm gonna say the offensive line. I'm gonna say they got to keep Patrick Mahomes off the ground. That's just what it is. You talked about Orlando Brown and him being the top left tackle. Let's see it today, because you're gonna have to go up against Max Crosby. So I just feel like you need to make sure that you keep Patrick Mahomes off the ground.
Defense. Well, for me, who did you say you had?
Offensive line.
Man, that's just so broad.
Oh, it's so broad. Hey, but it's keep Patrick Mahomes up, keep him clean.
I mean, to be honest, I had to piggyback off of you, because if you keep Patrick clean, that means you're keeping Matt Crosby off of him.
Yeah,
he's able to get the ball out, and if you're Kansas City, not only do they win this game because he's clean, he also wins the MVP. Yeah, he clinches it. So I'm with you. I like that. Defensively, who do you have?
Ooh, I've got to have the secondary for the Chiefs, specifically Trent McDuffie. Specifically Trent McDuffie and Joshua Williams. Yeah, you've got to make sure that you stop Devontae Adams. You got to cut the head off the snake, and I think that head is Devontae Adams. Who you got?
We'll go with Spags, because I mean, hell, you took the defensive back, and that's where I was going, because again, obviously, great minds think alike. So yeah, I mean, if that's going to be the case, we know who it is that can beat you. So no, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go Nick Bolton, just like you mentioned before about being a run stopper.
Oh yeah,
because I mean, you can do enough to maybe limit his touches as it relates to Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
So how do they stop the run, which they couldn't do last time? So I'm gonna go with the front seven, because I want to see them stop Josh Jacobs to where they have to throw the football, and then we get a chance to see what the secondary can do.
Okay, I like that.
So it's a lot on the line for those rookies in today's game.
I like that.
Before we get out of here, Steve, who you got win the game? What's your score?
Ooh, I'm gonna say it like our friend David Jacobson, man. From he was watching us on YouTube. Said, "Man, oh man, man, oh man." That's a tough one. I got the Chiefs winning, but you know what? It's gonna be a tough one, man. It's gonna be a tough one, man. This is a team that's coming in here with nothing to lose. Talking about the Raiders. And so when the team has nothing to lose, look for them to do some unorthodox things. Some things that you got a quarterback that you haven't played against before.
Yeah.
So they're going to do some unorthodox things, and I think Chiefs have to expect that, similar to a new coach with Denver last year. And so I just think for score-wise, oh, man, I think it's going to be a 27-14 game.
Huh?
27-14 Chiefs.
So Chiefs cover.
Yep, 27-14.
I can't do that, man, just because of what the Chiefs have been doing, man. Look, they struggle against division foes, man. I mean, they end up winning the game, but they struggle. I think when the line closed, it might be 8.5.
Okay.
I think it's much closer. I think it's a one possession game. I think the Chiefs may be down, or just going to who wins kickoff and how they come out and play.
Yeah.
But I think Kansas City will win the game. I don't think, for whatever reason, 30 seems to be a number they can't seem to get past sometimes. So I think the Chiefs win this game 30-23.
Okay.
So I think the Raiders covered, because I know I got the Raiders with the points.
Okay.
So I think the Raiders cover. I do think Kansas City wins this game. But I don't mind being wrong. What I hope is that
I always say I've been wrong before.
Yeah, well, I would like to see Kansas City put the game away. I'm not saying put it away early, but at least put enough cushion to where, maybe Patrick can get a 3-touchdown lead, and then you can kind of focus on run the football some, keep him clean, work on your run game stuff. You know what I'm saying, and go into the post game with the win, number 1 seed, and a first round bye.
Okay, I like that.
I like that too. Before we get out of here, we want to thank our sponsors again, Gates Barbecue with the pregame cheat sheet. Darren Smith, Steve Walls, live inside. Christian!
Get him in the blue shirt. Get him. No, never mind.
Oh, God.
We were trying to get Christian Decoyer, a friend of the show.
Yeah.
We couldn't get him.
God.
He's just walking through.
Really just got dumb people, but that's okay. Yeah, I said it. They were dumb people. Because we were not pointing at them.
They weren't Chiefs fans.
Yeah. So, I want to thank our sponsor, Gates Barbecue, but also, Steve, who style? I mean, I know who style you, but who style you? Let everybody know who style you. Got you looking so fresh, so clean today.
A shout out to my friends over at Dillard's on Rosa. If you're in the Kansas City area, I know we've got some people from Las Vegas watching us, but if you're in the Kansas City area, make sure you check them out. Dillard's located at Zona Rosa. If you're needing a game day look, whatever your game day may be, whether it's going to work, whether it's taking your kids to the park on a date, look, they have men's and women's clothes, so don't just think you can get fresh as me. Only as a man, you can also, go get styled by the ladies in the ladies department too, and for your kids. So make sure you go check out Dillard's on Rosa and tell them that I sent you.
Also want to thank, as always, Todd White and Todd's Clothier and Taylor Suits. Got the money green look for today. We in Las Vegas. It's all about the money. Kansas City's trying to get that number 1 seed. All about the money. Get the bye week. Let the other teams knock themselves out. You sit back. You take on the wounded. You go for the kill. Your first week out in the divisional round. Let the chips fall where they may. If it's Buffalo, if it's Cincinnati, the week after that, whether it's at Arrowhead, whether it's at a neutral site, you just do what you need to do, which is win the ball game. So, want to thank Todd White, as always. He's located 2 locations, 20th and Broadway, also inside the Ward Parkway Mall. Steve trying to
photobombing people.
Which is what we do when we're not on the air. So, look, want to thank everyone. Make sure you follow us on social media at Steve Walls KC, at Darren Smith WHB. Monday night, we've got the Red Hour live from the Soy Steak and Oyster House, 6:30, 7:30 p.m. off of the historic 18th and Vine. Join myself, Steve Walls, DJ Q, Sean Tyler. We will get you set up We will recap this. We will recap the game. We'll recap the NFL games. We'll get you set up for the college football playoff national championship game between TCU along with Georgia. And, of course, we'll talk about the wild card weekend next week in the NFL. So, with Steve Walls, I'm Darren Smith. Make sure you join us post-game with our press conferences, and then we'll bring you the post-game show from the field. We're live from inside of Allegiant Stadium, where the Kansas City Chiefs are about to kick off against the Las Vegas Raiders in 25 minutes. Thank you so much for joining us today. Happy New Year's as
Football
well.
fans, you can't spell gate without Gates, and great tailgates start with Gates sauces and seasonings. Named synonymous with mouth-watering tailgates. When you make your list of tailgate essentials, add Gates sauces and seasonings to that list. Spice up your tailgate experience with that unmistakable great taste. Available in 4 tantalizing flavors. Classic, sweet and mild, mild and hot. Find it at your local grocer, and if you don't see it, ask for it. Visit GatesBarbecue.com to purchase any of the great sauces and seasonings.